The Lunatic Fringe. I hate that nickname. To me, that will always conjure an image of someone being eaten alive by their own haircut, and now it'll be the same way for you forever. You're welcome. Also, in the UK, Ambrosia is a brand of custard. What I'm trying to say is I've had to forget a lot of ingrained things to truly appreciate Dean Ambrose during his now overrun as WWE World Champion, and it turns out there's a catalogue of others that Vince's Sweat Lodge would like you to misremember when it comes to one of SmackDown's top guys. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 things WWE want you to forget about Dean Ambrose. Number 10, the Wacky Line. I also hate this name. For many, the unhinged and dangerous Dean Ambrose of 2014 was brilliant, and those people, myself included, believe we lost something truly special when Ambrose started dicking around with hot dog carts, dressing up as a policeman, hiding guns in briefcases, and other things that committees of humorless corporate bastards classify as trademark bonkers. The nadir was when they named that god-awful clothesline that Ambrose does, you know, the oopsie-daisy I'm falling, no I'm not clothesline, was officially named the Wacky Line. Seriously, in the Royal Rumble, Michael Cole calls it the Wacky Line. In the Royal Rumble. Zany Uncle Dean and his Wacky Line. I hate all life. Number 9, Dean Ambrose interview gold. If you've heard Dean Ambrose being interviewed, you'll know that the dude tells it like it is, much to the chagrin of his paymasters. On Talk Is Jericho, Ambrose said that he hasn't liked a single promo he's done in WWE, that the first time that someone handed him a sheet of paper with a promo on it, it was a throw-up-in-your-mouth kind of moment. On the now famous Austin podcast interview, Ambrose once again ragged on WWE's scripted promos and accused Brock Lesnar, Vince's top prize fighter, of laziness and refusing to work with him to create a great WrestleMania match. As much respect as Ambrose gets for speaking his mind, it must infuriate the company he keeps slagging off. Number 8, the bear costume. DJ Hyde is the fellow that owns CZW, and oh, we're going to get to that, don't worry. He has a story about Dean Ambrose, and considering that WWE is technically still PG, I don't think they want it getting out. Basically, long story short, he wants to f*** someone whilst wearing a bear costume. To be fair, short story long, apparently Dean Ambrose got drunk, I presume, put on a bear costume and then had sex with a lady while still wearing it, whilst also cutting a promo as well. Maybe that's why WWE script him as heavily as they do. Number 7, wrestling drunk. Dean Ambrose is a big bad party legend. If you want more proof than the bear costume, here it is. He once took part in something called a drunken death match for the IWA against a lovely fellow called Neil Diamond Cutter. Haha, do you get it? It was a death match with barbed wire on the ring ropes, weapons aplenty, and shots of Jack Daniels throughout. It may not be behaviour becoming of a now ex-WWE champion in this day and age, but look it up online because seeing a wasted Dean Ambrose jumping into a bemused crowd to sing Sweet Caroline deserves to be in his Hall of Fame package one day. Number 6, trying out for TNA. Yep, in 2008. And not only that, but he didn't end up with a full contract. WWE still don't acknowledge their current stars and their dalliances with total non-stop action, and oh, like tits and ass. That's why they call themselves TNA. It's a joke. It's a joke, like the name of the company could also be Tits and Ass. But it isn't. But it could be a company struggling to remain relevant in increasingly dire financial times with loads of really talented wrestlers trying to achieve legitimacy. It's also something that's a sex joke. Oh, that's awful. Number 5, losing to Adam Rose. Unlike several of his main roster peers, including Seth Rollins, Big E, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose has never held a developmental World Heavyweight Championship in either its NXT or Florida Championship Wrestling form. The closest he came was a 2011 Fatal 4-Way match for the FCW Florida Heavyweight Championship, but he came up short against Leo Kruger, now better known as Adam Rose. So yeah, what happens in developmental stays in developmental, guys, especially with those naughty, filthy rosebuds. And WWE would probably prefer fans never find out that one of their top babyfaces lost a title match to Rose, a man who saw his main roster career sputter and die after an aborted feud with a rabbit before leaving the company on rather ignominious terms. As an interesting side note, the other two competitors in that four-way were Husky Harris, aka Bray Wyatt, and Damien Sandow. God, life's weird. Number 4, his shoot interview. You all know shoot interviews, the ones where retired wrestlers and bookers sit down for an hour or two and tell stories about the wrestling industry with everyone really hoping they're going to be as mean as humanly possible. Jim Cornette is pretty much the king of shoot videos in that regard, but did you know that Dean Ambrose already has one out there? It's called Stories from the Streets, the John Moxley story, that's what Dean Ambrose used to be called, released through Smart Mark Video, and, well, look at that cover. Doesn't that look like something that belongs on a WWE merch stall right next to the armbands? When you actually watch the thing, it just gets better and worse. Early on, he talks about his mother saying, "We both love pussy and drugs, so there was mutual ground." There's lots of stories about drugs and, in his words, banging 18-year-old sluts. And yeah, it's not coming to the network anytime soon. Number 3, the Mick Foley angle. Dean Ambrose made his WWE main roster debut as part of a stable called The Shield. You may have heard of them, not sure if they're still with the company, they've really fallen off the radar. But that wasn't the original plan for Mr. Dino. The Shield debuted at Survivor Series 2012, but Ambrose was supposed to debut before that, before SummerSlam of that year, and actually wrestle at that event. His dance partner? Mick Foley. The feud was going to be built on social media. In a strange work-shoot angle, Ambrose, then only a member of FCW, confronted Foley at a hotel in WrestleMania season. He demanded that Mick be held accountable for a generation of hardcore wrestlers, before being led away by security. Then the two engaged in a Twitter feud that made Foley legit uncomfortable when Ambrose started tweeting about making Mick's kids homeless orphans. The feud was finally scrapped after Foley couldn't be cleared to wrestle by doctors because if he does, all of his bones will explode. WWE then blocked footage of the hotel confrontation on Facebook, so the feud has definitely been buried. Number 2, Titty Master. Dean Ambrose has had some bad nicknames in his WWE tenure: the Lunatic Fringe, the Dude, Mutton Chop Thompson, Manky Jeans, Bad Hair Brown, and Simon Dean Ambrose, but the weirdest is by far and away Titty Master. Do you reckon Ambrose regrets showing up for a house show with the words Titty and Master written on the tape on his hands? Thanks to one eagle-eyed fan, the unique title spread throughout social media in a matter of days, soon becoming his unofficial nickname. According to Roman Reigns, the name actually originates from a European tour where Ambrose wrestled Big E a lot, who has a big chest. He was the master of Big E's titties, it seems. Sure, regardless if that origin story is true, it's a decidedly un-PC name, and WWE might have been bothered by it cropping up on a sign during the Shield's entrance at WrestleMania 30. And number 1, his time in CZW. It used to be a rule of thumb that no matter what you did before you came to WWE, that career you had, that life is over now. Wipe the hard drive, factory reset, here's your new name and number. Now this isn't a blanket rule like it used to be. WWE have started capitalizing on some of their stars' illustrious pasts: Nakamura, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles. But for a lot of the roster, their days in promotions like Ring of Honor, TNA, PWG are all buried, and that goes double for Dean's days in CZW. For fans unaware of Combat Zone Wrestling, nowadays it's not quite as hardcore as it used to be, but in the days of Jon Moxley, it was a haven of blood, barbed wire, and glass. Some examples of horrible things that Dean Ambrose did in CZW: be stabbed repeatedly in the head with a fork, take a power saw to the forehead, take a staple gun to his opponent's heads, and then also light tubes and barbed wire and broken glass. All the fun of the fair. Dean Ambrose has a very, very, very violent past, which WWE might want you to forget, lest you realise that their version of the Lunatic Fringe ain't nowhere near as lunatic as he used to be. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.